Another major milestone in a baby's development is recognizing the sound of a mother's voice. But what if a baby doesn't hear that sound? Technology at Seattle Children's is helping solve that problem. He's still learning the chords.
Yeah, except I keep forgetting to practice.
But the fact that Connor McKittrick can play at all is truly something. If it weren't for medical science, he wouldn't be able to hear a single note.
I think it was like at 6 months old we started to notice that we could vacuum in his room and he wasn't responding and he'd sleep right through it.
Doctors ran a battery of tests and gave his parents news that took their breath away. Their infant son was profoundly deaf.
I remember just going home and crying and because you don't know what other options are out there.
A technological breakthrough offered some hope: cochlear implants, enabling a deaf person to hear by electronically stimulating the auditory nerve.
I had never heard of one prior to this, and I did think it was impossible that you can cure deafness and introduce sound by something the size of a hearing aid.
Still, it seemed like a chance worth taking. And when Connor was just over a year old, he had surgery on one ear. A couple of weeks later, his implant was turned on, and he immediately started to cry.
I remember the people we were working with said, I bet he's never heard any sound at all. I mean, he doesn't even know what it is, and he's just scared to death. And although he was crying, it was like the happiest moment of our lives,
Connor could hear, but as years passed, his parents noticed other problems.
He'd like to have the lights on, and he was always a klutz. He was always tripping and running into things, and we thought he was afraid of the dark.
The truth was much more serious. Connor was going blind. He was diagnosed with a degenerative disease called Usher syndrome, a genetic condition that causes his deafness and would eventually rob him of sight. Doctors recommended an implant for his other ear, too, to salvage the one sense they could save.
You can be a deaf child and do great. But for kids who are going to have visual loss in addition to deafness, it's a whole nother layer of complexity.
Connor can now hear out of both ears.
My implant has to just run the voice into the computer, and the computer rings up the wire and goes straight to my brain. That way I can hear.
There's a lot to hear in this busy household, 4 boys in all. Lane and Todd took every measure to ensure none of their other kids would have Ushers. The middle 2 did not. And then Dalton arrived.
When Dalton was born, he did the newborn hearing screening in the hospital, and she says, oh, he's not passing. We said, no, that's not possible. He's passing. I'm sure you're doing something wrong.
The test was right. Dalton also had Usher syndrome. He was deaf and would lose his sight, just like Connor.
It was just, it was devastating, because here we are, we're doing the same exact thing again, and at least we know what we're doing this time around, but it doesn't make it any easier.
2 children, 1 need. Coming up, Dalton gets to hear for the very first time.
There you go.
Every week, Dalton McKittrick gets speech therapy.
Am I talking now? You're looking at me? Yeah, I'm talking now, aren't I? Yeah, good listening.
With traditional hearing aids, he appears to respond to very loud noises, but it's impossible to know really how much he actually hears or understands. While there's no cure for Usher syndrome, cochlear implants can help Dalton the same way they helped his brother, restoring one sense before another is lost.
Has he had any snoring when he sleeps? Have you noticed?
1 week before his surgery, his grandmother takes him to an appointment with Dr. Kathleen C.
Why don't you come on over, Dalton?
Just 7 months old, he is much younger than a typical candidate for cochlear implants.
Because we know that he has impending visual loss or blindness, we feel that giving him binaural input or input to both ears as young as possible is to his advantage. On his back.
Dr. C is well acquainted with his case of Usher syndrome.
Right, that ear looks great. Let's see the other side.
She performed surgery on his brother Connor years earlier, and now Dalton will become the youngest child ever to receive cochlear implants at Seattle Children's.
Outstanding. Good job.
Okay.
1 week later, the McKittricks arrive at Seattle Children's for the day they've anticipated since Dalton was born.
From day one, it's like this is the goal, and so it's sort of surreal that it's sort of finally here.
Dalton is in his usual good mood, calm and ready. In the operating room, the beginning of surgery is marked by a small milestone. Doctors must shave part of Dalton's head above his ears. It's his first haircut.
So we save the hair for the families, and the hair goes into the baby book. You know, they're babies, and so you need to take a little extra care.
The surgery requires delicate precision. Here's how it works. The external piece, with a microphone and transmitter, sends sound signals to the internal device, and that stimulates the auditory nerve. The end result, Dalton should be able to hear. The procedure is expected to last 4 hours. Dalton's mom and dad can do little but sit and wait.
As much stress we have about having, our 6-month-old in surgery, we're also excited. We're only a couple weeks away from having them be able to hear, so I mean, it kind of balances itself out.
1 hour stretches into 2 as the first implant is secured and audiologists make sure it's functioning well.
Everything looked great as far as the NRT, a beautiful NRT.
But the true test will come in 2 more weeks when Dalton's implants are turned on and his world of silence becomes a world of sound.
Morning. Hi. Come on in.
Activation day has arrived.
This is the baby worn configuration.
At first, the only sound Dalton will hear is beeping and buzzing, transmitted by a computer. He seems to react once or twice, and then there is no doubt. As the noises inside his head grow louder, it's overwhelming.
Did you hear that?
Again and again. Dalton makes it clear he can hear the beeps and the buzzes, and for his parents, these are tears of joy.
I don't know, it's happy crying. Yeah.
As the testing continues, an exhausted Dalton falls asleep. And then the final step, turning on Dalton's microphones. For the first time, he wakes up to the sounds of his parents' voices.
Hey, bud. You?
Before long, the tears are replaced by curiosity. Dalton hears a rattle for the first time.
Hey, bud. What was that?
Then a bell. A tambourine. And his dad.
What do you think? What do you think? I can hear.
Dalton finally has the ability to listen, but at this moment, his mom just doesn't know what to say.
I don't know, it's hard to put into words. It's just awesome. Yeah.
As Dalton hears for the first time. Dr. C says Dalton should be back on track with his hearing peers by the time he starts kindergarten.